If you're anything like me, you're an ambitious young person and you want to make your mark on the world. But because of the abundance of information that's out there, you're constantly getting bombarded by this business model, that business model, AI agency, drop shipping, and it's pretty overwhelming. I think we're in quite a unique position as a generation that none of the previous generations, my father's generation, my parents' generation, for example, or their parents' generation, for example, our roots are not as clearly defined as what theirs was. And that's a big problem for young people nowadays because we're seeing young people reach an amount of wealth that is unprecedented. You're seeing people, social media influencers making loads of money. You're seeing people try all these weird and different business models, gamers making loads of money. And if you're like me, you're kind of realizing that the traditional outlets and routes that society have set out for you are no longer the paths that are the most effective. So, what do you do then? You're getting bombarded with all these different ideas, all these different business models, and you have shiny object syndrome, and you don't exactly know what to do. I'm just going to say what's worked for me, and if you're anything like me, it might work for you. So this is what I'm sharing. So I was in this predicament last year before I was due for my final year in university, before my exams. I was thinking, what do I actually want to do after uni? Because the pressure's on. My mum's like, right, what job are you gonna get? And I'm like, I don't know. So yeah, I was in a bit of a situation. I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do. So yeah, I'm watching a lot of these internet gurus, and I'm realizing that I don't really have the skills to open my own business right now. Like that is not the stage of life that I'm in. I don't even know what business is. I don't even know what business is. I only recently found out what business actually is, and business is just solving people's problems essentially and getting paid for it. But back then I had no idea what business was, so I was like, fuck that, I'm not doing that. So I might as well learn a skill because at least with a skill, even if I'm shit at it to begin with, I'll know that for a fact if I stick with it long enough, and I've chosen a good one to do, caveat, then I will be rewarded by the market for it 100% because I've specialised in that skill now, and if it's an in-demand skill, then you're always going to be making bread. So the one I chose was not video editing, which is a good one to do as well, but the one I chose was sales. Sales is one of those jobs that is, I read it in a book once by Brian Tracy. It's a recession-proof job. It doesn't matter if your company goes bust, you'll just get a job at another one. And since you've had the skills and you've built them up, you can change from company to company. It's fine. So the one I chose was sales, and I've got to say that it's one of the best decisions I've made in my life. First, initially, I did door-to-door sales, which was B2C, obviously, and the amount of rejection you face in that and the humiliation. It's all about how you perceive it, really, but it makes you stronger and it makes you thicker skinned, and it also gives you communication abilities that are like that you didn't even know you had. They were there, but like they were just never. You never really tapped into your full potential. And also B2B sales as well. Like you're talking to high level people, you're trying to sell your services to them, and you realise what actually works and what actually doesn't work in trying to convince someone. Like you learn loads and loads of lessons on the way. For example, I'll give you an example. I watched The Wolf of Wall Street, and I seen that the guy Jordan Belfort, he it looks really sick on the phone, where he's proper picturing him on the phone. He's like, yeah, this is the best penny stock ever. You're gonna make this, you're gonna make that. I tried that on the phone. I was like, I want to do that. I want to make loads of money as well. But then I tried it on the phone, and it just didn't seem to work. And I kind of realised that we actually live in a different age. We live in the information age where people can actually find out for themselves if what you're saying is true. They can't just, not like they did back in the 80s when Jordan Belfort was about. I kind of realised that the way you actually need to speak to people is you need to be a lot more consultative in the way you actually approach. And you have to ask the right questions. It's not actually about your pitch so much. It's about the questions you ask them and the questions that trigger them to think. You need to get them into results based thinking. Not they don't give a fuck about your product. They only give a fuck about what you can do for them. and the problems that you can solve for them. So yeah, you learn loads of little things like these working in sales, and it builds you up as a person, it builds your character up as well. So if you're a young ambitious person and you're not quite sure what you want to do, and these kind of businesses seem pretty daunting to yourself, then I'd definitely say learn a high income skill. It doesn't have to be sales, but sales was my preferred method, and I reckon, to be honest, sales is probably the best one you can do now that I'm just thinking about it again. But yeah, it will change your life. Boom.